So if you saw my previous video, you'd know that we pulled a Meltan from that round of Pokemon TCG packs. You'd also know that Gamefreak made Shiny Meltan permanently available in Pokemon Home while I was editing that video. I figured it would happen eventually, but I was still very surprised it happened that quickly. I was mostly expecting it to come around when the Shiny Meltan event goes live in Pokemon Go on Pokemon Go's anniversary every year in July. But nope, Gamefreak had other plans for me. So that's what this video is for. Getting that Pokemon Home Shiny Meltan. But how does that warrant its own video, you might be asking yourself? Well, dear viewer, it's because you must get a full living dex of Kanto Pokemon caught specifically in the Let's Go games, minus Mew for mythical reasons, to unlock the Shiny Meltan. So instead of just getting the small handful of Pokemon I was missing and making it like a 15-second clip in the next TCG video, I decided to embark on a little journey to really up the theatrics for Shiny Meltan. A living Professor Oak challenge. The central idea for a Professor Oak challenge is to follow Professor Oak's original goal for you. Catch all Pokemon and complete the Pokedex. But as with any challenge worth its salt, you're meant to complete it as fast as possible. The only problem, you can't catch all Pokemon immediately. The next best thing would be to catch every Pokemon in each section before moving on to the next one, as each section is divided up by the gym leaders, as you typically, and I would like to put extreme emphasis on the word typically, cannot progress to the next section until you beat that section's gym leader. And since I have to import all 150 Kanto Pokemon into Pokemon Home to get that Meltan, I will be getting one of every possible Pokemon in each section before beating that section's gym leader. Here's the story of my Living Professor Oak challenge and how I obtained a Shiny Meltan. This adventure begins exactly like every other Pokemon adventure, with a Pokemon professor welcoming you to the world of Pokemon and obtaining your starter. I'm doing this challenge in Let's Go Eevee, so our starter is Eevee. Now we aren't going to count this Eevee towards the dex total as it can't be transferred out of this game, just stuck in the confines of this game for all eternity. This first section ends with defeating Brock, the first gym leader, and obtaining these 23 Pokemon. We are going to skip the first couple of routes as the Pokemon here can be found at a higher level a little further north. Our first stop is the Viridian Forest, where our first major hurdle will be Bulbasaur, which is the special spawn for this area. And if you'll recall, special spawns have a very low spawn rate, so it could be a hot minute before, and I've already used up my good luck for this challenge with the very first Pokemon. Love that for me. But it wasn't entirely just luck, as there is a singular lure here that I picked up and used solely for the purpose of getting Bulbasaur to spawn faster. If you didn't know, having a lure active increases the total amount of Pokemon that spawn. So, more Pokemon, higher chance of getting the special spawn to appear. And it worked out pretty well, as I got all 3 Bulbasaur I needed in about 10 minutes. Then we just go about catching everything else we need here. In no particular order, we got 1 Weedle, 2 Kakuna, 2 Pikachu, 1 Caterpie, 2 Metapod, and 3 Pidgeys. While catching those, Kakuna evolved into Beedrill, Metapod into Butterfree, and the 2 Bulbasaurs into Ivysaurs. While we are near the end of the Viridian Forest, we will head north to Route 2 to catch 3 Bellsprout and 2 Rattata. Then we are going to backtrack a little bit to Viridian City and head west to Route 22, where we will catch 3 female Nidoran, 3 male Nidoran, and 2 Spearow. At this point, we have caught everything we need, now we just need to evolve everything. But given the highest level of anything we can catch around here is like level 7, this is gonna take a while. So buckle up. I decided to chain Pikachu, as it was the best combination of experience yields and relatively low difficulty catch. Bulbasaur, Butterfree, and Beedrill do have a higher experience yield, but they're so infrequent in their spawns, and they tend to move around on the screen a lot to make it harder to catch, so it really wasn't worth our time to try. After a bunch of grinding, the Nidorans evolved into Nidorinas and Nidorinos, the Pidgeys into Pidgeotos, Spearow into Fearow, Rattata into Raticate, the Bellsprouts into Weepinbells, Ivysaur into Venusaur, and Pidgeotto into Pidgeot. We don't have access to any evolution stones, so the evolutions for Weepinbell, Pikachu, Nidorino, and Nidorina will have to wait a while. Now, this took a lot of Pokeballs, and you might be asking yourself how I was able to afford everything. When you start chain catching the same Pokemon, you earn progressively more rewards the further your chain goes. You can sell these rewards for more money, as well as the candy you receive for transferring Pokemon to Professor Oak. This sustained me for a while, but Venusaur and Pidgeot require a tremendous amount of experience, and I was using more money than I was able to earn. To circumvent this, I'm going to once again rely on the wisdom of YouTuber John Stone and his patented John Stone skip method of date skipping. You see, up in Pewter City where Brock is, there's a lady with a slowpoke to the left of the museum at the north end of the town. If you watch her slowpoke for her while she visits the museum, she'll give you a big pearl that you can then sell for 4,000 Pokedollars. And since waiting until the next day is kind of counterintuitive for completing this challenge as fast as possible, I had to get around it, and it goes like this. Navigate to the Communicate menu, start a local communication, select Link Trade, enter a code for the trade, go to your Switch settings, move the date forward 1 day, return to the game, exit out of all of the menus, and voila! The game now thinks it is the next day after about 20 seconds of work, and you can farm big pearls from this lady to your heart's content. To finish off this section, we head into the Pewter City gym, skip the optional trainers, and take on what is by far the easiest Brock battle I will ever experience with my level 36 Venusaur. Piece of cake. This next section ends by defeating Misty in the Cerulean City gym, but we will first need to obtain these 27 Pokemon. Technically it is 32, but I'll explain that a little bit later. One important note about this section is that once you exit Mount Moon and travel far enough on Route 4 East, you cannot return to Mount Moon or Route 3 until much later in the game, so we will need to catch everything on Route 3 and in Mount Moon before we move forward. Since I was still rocking my obscenely large Pikachu chain from earlier, the first special spawn Charmander spawned almost instantly. The other two would not be so easy, so instead I put together 2 separate chains of 11 Rattata to get the 2 Charmander to appear. And then I got the 2 Ekans I needed, and we were done with Route 3. Before we head into Mount Moon though, we need to stop at this Pokemon Center just outside. Within, there is a man that will sell us something magical, something so unique, so game-changing, that we cannot pass it up. It's a Magikarp for 500 Pokedollars. Normally, Magikarp are only found while surfing in this game, but we don't have access to surf. But since the challenge is to obtain every Pokemon, we trade him the money and get the Magikarp. There is only one available, so we'll count this one as our Gyarados and then just catch another Magikarp later on. Heading into Mount Moon, we are meant to chase Jesse and James to the end, but we have more serious business to attend to. At the entrance, I caught 2 Geodude, 2 Paris, and 2 Zubat. Getting further into Mount Moon, I stumbled upon a Clefairy and a Chansey, grabbed the Helix fossil, praise Lord Helix, and defeated Team Rocket. And while looking for the 2 Moonstones here, I managed to get an Onix and a Clefable. In this process, the 2 Charmanders evolved into 2 Charmeleons. I wanted to try to chain Chansey while I had the opportunity to and get a ton of experience, but I had a very difficult time getting them to spawn, so I opted for chaining Geodude instead, but that wasn't very lucrative either, so I decided to leave Mount Moon for now and chain elsewhere. After getting to Cerulean City, we head north to the Nugget Bridge to fight our rival, and absolutely demolish him. Once we complete the gauntlet on the Nugget Bridge, we now have access to routes 24 and 25, which means that we can catch the last starter, 3 Squirtles. These came by a lot quicker, mostly because I immediately implemented the plan of chaining something easy to 11 and waiting for the special Squirtle to appear. But I also like to think I was lucky and the game was done hating. Also here we need 2 Venonat, 2 Psyduck, and 6 Meowth. Why 6 Meowth? Well, we need 2 for the Meowth and Persian and the Dex count, but we also need to have 5 total Meowth in our Pokemon storage to get an exclusive Pokemon later on. After chaining Psyducks here for a few hours, Magikarp evolved into Gyarados, Ekans into Arbok, 2 Squirtles into Wartortles, Geodude into Graveler, Zubat into Golbat, Paris into Parasect, Meowth into Persian, Charmeleon into Charizard, Venonat into Venomoth, Wartortle into Blastoise. Whoa, what a big man that is. Psyduck into Golduck. And finally, we use the 2 Moonstones we found earlier to evolve Nidorina into Nidoqueen and Nidorino into Nidoking. That concludes all the Pokemon we need for this section, so all that's left is to defeat Misty. Wow, that was so difficult. I was sweating the entire time. Can't believe we won. Before setting off to the next section, we need to go to Bill's house, change him back to a human, and receive the SS and tickets as a reward. Section 3 ends by defeating Lieutenant Surge, but those unfamiliar with this next section may think it'd be a similar length to the previous 2, and you would also be incredibly incorrect. Looking through a typical guidebook, you'd probably find that there'd only be 11 or so new Pokemon to obtain between Misty and Surge. However, the truth is far more disparaging. Because you don't have to defeat Surge to use Cut outside of battle, you can return to Cerulean City, go east, cut down this tree, and you can progress to routes 2 and 9. But by cutting down this tree, you are now able to access every other town on the map in some way. I'll bring up our path as we go, but because of this oversight, we now have access to catch 77 new Pokemon. That's over half the dex. So after beating Misty and getting the SS and tickets, we're going to head south to Route 5. Here we need 2 Vulpix, 2 Abra, and 2 Jigglypuff. We'll use the underground pass to get to Route 6 on the other side of Saffron City. Instead of heading to the SS Anne, we're going east to Diglett's Cave and Route 11. In Diglett's Cave, we're going to catch... Is it Diglett? Do you need 2 Diglett in Diglett's Cave, home of the Diglett? Yes, it is in fact 2 Diglett in Diglett's Cave. I knew it! And on Route 11, we need 2 Drowsy and a Mr. Mime. While looking for Mr. Mime, Abra evolved into Kadabra. Heading back to Vermilion City, we need to talk to this lady. Remember 5 minutes ago when I said we needed 5 Meowth in our Pokemon storage? It is for her, because she absolutely loves looking at Meowth. Not having, just looking at them. And for showing her 5 Meowth, she just gives us an Arcanine, which is exclusive to Let's Go Pikachu and otherwise can't be tamed in this game. Now we are finally ready to board the SS Anne, reenact the Titanic with Eevee, obtain the Chop Down secret technique, and deboard the SS Anne. With Chop Down now in our arsenal, we're ready to head back to Cerulean City, go east to that tree, and open up the rest of the map. There is nothing new for us on Route 9, but Krabby appears on Route 10, so we'll grab 2 of those and continue on towards Rock Tunnel. But not before being ambushed by Team Rocket. And not just 1 or 2 grunts. No, we've got 4 grunts backing us into a corner. Just when we think all hope is lost, our savior arrives. Lorelei of the Elite Four. Anyways, what were we talking about? Rock Tunnel has quite a few things we need, so we'll catch 2 Machop, 2 Cubone, 2 Rhyhorn, and the 1% spawn Kangaskhan. Emerging on the other end of Rock Tunnel, we'll keep going south to Lavender Town. We battle a rival and then ascend the Pokemon Tower until we encounter a mysterious presence that will not let us continue. We'll have to leave and come back later. On Route 8, there is technically 1 new Pokemon we can get, but it's Ninetales, and I've already caught 2 Vulpix, so we'll just skip it for now. We can't pass through Saffron City yet, so we'll take another underground path to arrive in Route 7. Again, technically 1 new Pokemon here with Porygon, but there is another, much easier way of getting Porygon that we'll get to a little bit later. Getting into Celadon City, we need to find Brock, who gives us what we need to bribe the Saffron City guards into letting us through. Next stop is the Celadon department store, so we can buy a treasure trove of evolution stones. I can't hold all these stones! With our shopping spree done, we need to flush out Team Rocket from Celadon City. We notice a strange button behind the poster in the game corner, and we've infiltrated Team Rocket's hideout. Felt a little too easy. Anyways, we battle our way through Team Rocket grunts until we reach the basement, and one of the grunts tosses the key we need up into the air ducts and out of our reach. But our partner Eevee is here to save the day and retrieve it. We take it, get into the boss's office, dispatch Jesse and James, as well as this new Rocket admin Archer, and come face to face with the Team Rocket boss himself, Giovanni. Not that it really matters, because our team is heavily overleveled and we just clean sweep him. Since we were so impressive though, Giovanni decides to gift us with the Sylph Scope. Upon leaving the rocket hideout and the game corner, there is now a man standing outside with a bunch of balloons doing his best impression of Carl from the hit Pixar movie Up. Talking to this guy gives us the ability to fly, which we then promptly use to get back to Lavender Town. Climbing the tower again, we discover the ghosts are actually, ghost-type Pokemon. Yeah, who would have thought? We grab 2 Ghastly and keep moving up, eventually getting back to the mysterious entity that would previously not let us pass. With the Sylph Scope, we are able to dispel the mystery and help the Marowak move on. Progressing further into the tower, we meet Mr. Fuji and he gives us the Pokeflute for helping Cubone and its mother. After flying back to Celadon City, we need to head west to Route 16 and 17. On Route 16, we use our newly acquired Pokeflute to awaken the sleeping Snorlax, who did not like being woken up and immediately battles us. We defeat the Snorlax, successfully catch it, and move on. But not before the insane amount of experience from catching Snorlax causes Diglett, Drowsy, Krabby, and Machop to evolve into Dugtrio, Hypno, Kingler, and Machoke, respectively. The new Pokemon on Route 16 are also on Route 17, so we'll just grab everything there. After getting to Route 17, we proceed to catch Ponyta, Rapidash, Doduo, Dodrio, and 4 Eevee. And in this process, Cubone evolved into Marowak and Ghastly evolved into Haunter. Moving even further south, we arrive at Fuchsia City, where we have 2 more former HM moves we need to learn. If we head to the beach, we find Jesse and James digging about in the sand. They find a nasty pair of gold teeth buried here and give it to us because, yeah, who would want to hold it but us? Super weirdo. If we return these teeth to the game warden, he teaches us how to use strength. Then if we look north, we can see a man hanging out by a pond with a Lapras. Talking to him will give us the surf ability, and we can now travel almost everywhere in the Kanto region. We're going to return to Pewter City and head to the right side entrance of the museum. Here where we can get the old Amber in the cage just by talking to the guy next to it, as he is very eager to see if the fossil can be revived. Maybe a little too eager. What does he know? Since we can now surf, we're going to return to Route 22 and swim around this pond until we can catch 3 Poliwag. We're also going to make a quick pit stop on Route 6 to get another Magikarp and 2 Goldeen. Just south of Pallet Town, Surf allows us to access this grass patch on Route 21, the only place where Tangela spawns. Continuing down Route 21, we net...
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
We net Tentacool, Tentacruel, and 2 Staryu. After arriving on Cinnabar Island, we head towards the Research Institute and revive the Helix fossil into Ammonite and the old Amber into Aerodactyl. Getting back to the story now, we're heading back to Saffron City. We finally bribed the guard with the tea that Brock gave us that is almost certainly freezing cold by now. Noticing the bevy of Team Rocket grunts around the city, we're led to the Sylph Company building to weed them out. But for whatever reason, Blue decides to battle us and then just leave us alone to deal with Team Rocket. Making our way up the building, we arrive on this floor where this man is waiting to give us a whole Lapras for getting rid of Team Rocket, even though we haven't done it yet. But don't tell him, just let him be grateful. After some more grunt battles, the 2 Poliwags evolve into Poliwhirls. Then we reach the top floor and handily defeat Giovanni again. And if we talk to the head of Silphco, he gives us a Master Ball. Exiting the Silphco building, we can find this Silphco employee near the Pokemon Center who is eternally grateful for helping with Team Rocket, and this time, we actually earned it, so he gives us a Porygon. Before leaving Saffron City, we are going to battle through the Fighting Dojo and claim Hitmonchan as a reward. Doesn't really matter which one we pick here, as we can get the other one later on. We're back on Route 10, but now with the Surf ability, which allows us to ride around to the power plant, but not before getting 3 Dratini on the way. Inside the power plant are quite a few Pokemon to catch, consisting of Voltorb, Electrode, Electabuzz, 2 Coughing, and 2 Magnemite, and our Ammonite evolved into Omastar. Praise Lord Helix. All that's left here is the legendary bird Zapdos. Much like Snorlax, we battle, defeat, and catch it with ease. We have to head back to Lavender Town, so we can... so that we can head south to Route 12. Here we can find Horsey and Cedra on the water, and Farfetched in this small patch of grass near Route 13. Proceeding through the routes, we arrive at Route 15, where we have to hunt the elusive 5% Tauros and the 1% Pinsir. Tauros showed up fairly quickly, but Pinsir took quite a long time. Catching Pinsir gave us the last bit of experience to evolve Magnemite into Magneton, Coughing into Wheezing, and Goldeen into Seeking. Cutting through Fuchsia City and heading ever further south, we will eventually arrive at the Seafoam Islands. In this frigid environment, we need to get Seal, Dugong, Jinx, 2 Slowpoke, and 2 Shelder. Navigating the cavern's puzzle gives us access to another legendary bird, Articuno. Defeated, the second legendary is ours to catch, and catch it we did. Returning to Cinnabar Island, we only have 2 more Pokemon to catch for this section. We'll head into the Pokemon Mansion and grab a Ditto and a Magmar. Surprisingly though, we only have 5 more Pokemon to evolve that need experience to do it. So I hunkered down to chain Magmar, prepared to wait out this boring grind. This one is really surprising, as we have only really grinded twice before this, and both previous times we didn't have access to lures yet, which increases your shiny odds. So getting a shiny with such a little chain going with a lure active was a little surprising. But these Magmar chains allowed the 2 Dratinis to evolve into Dragonairs, Slowpoke into Slowbro, and Rhyhorn into Rhydon. The experience grind for Dragonite was absolutely miserable. So once I got it within range, I used all of my rare candies on Dragonair to get the final experience evolution for this section and evolve it into Dragonite. All that's left is the stone evolutions. We use the Fire Stones to evolve Vulpix into Ninetales and Eevee into Flareon, the Moonstone to evolve Jigglypuff into Wigglytuff, the Leaf Stone to evolve Weepinbell into Victreebel, the Thunderstones to evolve Pikachu into Raichu and Eevee into Jolteon, and finally, the Water Stones to evolve Eevee into Vaporeon, Poliwhirl into Poliwrath, Staryu into Starmie, and Shelder into Cloyster. With that, we have obtained a living dex of all possible Pokemon to this point, so we can return to Vermilion City and battle Lieutenant Surge, and he's done for. Now, you might be thinking there's nothing new for me until I have access to Victory Road, and you'd be technically correct.
The best kind of correct.
But you're also actually very wrong. Victory Road in this game is gated by having all 8 badges. 1 gate for each badge, but prior to the 7th gate, Route 23 has a patch of grass that contains Execute. To get there, we first need to get badges 4 through 6. We eradicated Erica, we clobbered Koga, and we shattered Sabrina to get the necessary badges. We then made our way to Route 23 and passed the 6th gate. We caught 2 Execute and evolved one of them with a Leaf Stone to get Executor. To wrap up this very short section, we head back to Cinnabar Island and quickly burn through Blaine. We have another short section on our hands. But short as in we only need 2 Pokemon, not short in duration, as this section involves defeating Giovanni, getting through Victory Road, and conquering the Elite Four. After dealing with Giovanni for the last time, we need to head back to Route 23 again on our way to Victory Road. Before we do that though, I went back to Route 1 and quickly got an 11 chain of Pidgeys. One of the 2 Pokemon we need in this section is the special spawn Hitmonlee that appears in Victory Road. Since we don't catch anything else between here and there, I thought it'd be smart to build up a chain on an easier Pokemon so that I wouldn't have to... I'm not okay with this. I specifically got an 11 chain of Pidgeys. So Hitmonlee would just spawn immediately once I got into Victory Road. And now I gotta deal with this. This sucks. I'm pretty sure this Spearow was a full odd shiny because I didn't have a lure active and I wasn't actively chaining Spearow. And with this 1 Spearow chain, I decided to just catch 10 more here instead of going all the way back to Route 1 and the Pidgeys. We get into Victory Road and head down a level where it did not take long for Hitmonlee to spawn. Thank you, Spearow. The other Pokemon we need to catch in Victory Road is the final legendary bird, Moltres. Moltres is probably the easiest to defeat as most of my team was insanely high level by this point, but it was probably the most difficult to catch as it took roughly 3 minutes to do so. All that's left for us in this section is to defeat the Pokemon League, which we did, with extreme ease. We lashed Lorelei, we bashed Bruto, We agonized Agatha, and we lambasted Lance. Even our rival, the Pokemon champion, was no match. I haven't mentioned it yet, but I named our rival Guy, so anytime we got into a battle with him, it'd be something like, "You are challenged by Pokemon trainer Guy," and I found it quite humorous. But with all that done, we are entered into the Hall of Fame and have beaten the game, but we have not completed the challenge yet. Now that we are league champion, we finally have the most important thing in the game, access to Cerulean Cave. Here on the upper floor, we can get Lickitung. It is also possible in Cerulean Cave to get the remaining fossils we need. At this specific point, just a little bit before the surf area on the bottom floor, a random fossil will spawn daily. Of course, we're going back to the Johnstone skip to do this. I just so happened to get insanely lucky, and the first 3 fossils I found were the exact fossils I was missing. Venturing all the way back to Cinnabar Island and the Research Institute, we revived the Helix fossil into another Ammonite, and the 2 Dome fossils into Kabuto. Instead of grinding, I took the easy way out and just gave one of the Kabuto a single rare candy to evolve it into Kabutops. All that's left is the mysterious Pokemon that has taken up residence in the underdepths of Cerulean Cave. The Pokemon that was created and experimented on in the basement of the Pokemon Mansion, leading to its ruin. The genetic Pokemon, Mewtwo. The other legendary Pokemon were cakewalks, but not Mewtwo. Mewtwo outlevels anyone on our team. We did still beat it with minimal complications, but it put up a heck of a fight. All that is left is to strategize a way to catch it, as we are on a timer, only have so much time. What else was I gonna use it on? With Mewtwo in our possession, we have officially completed the Professor Oak challenge. Overall, this took about 23 hours to complete, but I'd guess a good 70% of that was the experience grinding before Brock and Misty. Can't say I enjoyed catching hundreds of Pikachu and Psyduck to evolve my Pokemon, but steamrolling every trainer we battled was a fun experience. Once again, thank you for watching my video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Surely I wasn't just doing this challenge for funsies. I could have sworn there was a reason. Oh no. It's right behind me, isn't it? That's right, we needed to get Shiny Meltan by completing the full Kanto Living Dex, not just the Professor Oak challenge. But I'm about 15 Pokemon short of that goal, and the rest can't be obtained with a single copy of Let's Go Eevee. So I'm putting out Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu to finish it off. We specifically need the 4 trait evolutions, Golem, Alakazam, Machamp, and Gengar, as well as the 11 Let's Go Pikachu exclusive Pokemon Scyther, Growlithe, the Sandshrew line, the Mankey line, the Oddish line, and the Grimer line. Off we go. We'll begin on Route 4, where we'll catch 2 Sandshrew and 2 Mankey. Then a Growlithe and an Abra on Route 5, a Haunter from the Pokemon Tower, an Oddish from Route 1, and 2 Gloom just below that on Route 21. And a little bit further south below that, a Grimer and a Muck from the Pokemon Mansion. And now a Graveler and a Machoke from Victory Road, and finally a Scyther from Route 15. However, Scyther, despite being one of my favorite Pokemon, hates me. Everything else was easy peasy, lemon squeezy, but not Scyther. This bug really had me going in and out of the route entrance for well over an hour before it finally showed up. And that's all for catching. Next we need to evolve some of these. Abra and Kadabra, Sandshrew into Sandslash, Mankey into Primeape, and we have to go buy a Leaf Stone to evolve Gloom into Vileplume. And finally, we just need to trade everything over. Once again, I borrowed my wife's Switch because I didn't want to rely on somebody from the internet to help me complete a game that's over 6 years old by now. Guys, I promise she's totally okay with it, and I am in no way taking advantage of her goodwill. So yeah, we just sent over the 11 Let's Go Pikachu exclusives. Followed by Graveler, who evolved into Golem, Machoke, who evolved into Machamp, Haunter, who evolved into Gengar, and Kadabra, who evolved into Alakazam. Now we're almost done. Since we have completed the Pokedex, we might as well pay Professor Oak a visit and get the shiny charm. Let me just talk to him again. Yeah, I completely forgot that Professor Oak doesn't actually give you the shiny charm in these games. Instead, you have to go to this building and sell it on City and talk to the game director. All that's left to do is to transfer all these Pokemon to Pokemon Home. But the annoying part about claiming these gifts in Pokemon Home, you can only do it on the mobile version. So you've registered every single Pokemon in the Kanto Pokedex. You're most certainly the right one entrusted with this monumental task. Absolutely right. Hope you keep the fantastic work. There it is. A box. There it is. Almost 24 hours of work just to get this one. Now it's done.